I'm Candace Brown McElia. Coming up on The Listing Colorado, we continue to follow the journey of a seller during COVID-19 and find out what a drive-by closing is.
Hi, I'm Matthew Carmen. Today we're going to talk to a local mortgage lender about the closing process.
Plus, we have luxury real estate trends with a local realtor from Compass Denver. All that and more starts right now on The Listing Colorado. Hi everyone, welcome to The Listing Colorado. I'm your host, Candace Brown McElia. Last time, we told you about the journey of a seller during COVID-19, a nurse named Brittany who had to sell her home in order to avoid financial crisis. Today, we'll find out if she got an offer on her home and tell you if closings are happening amidst this national crisis. Let's check in with Brittany to see how her first showing went.
So the process has really been crazy. I feel like I would have never imagined it going as well as it has. From the time it got listed, we had a showing set up in 1 hour. We had the showing was in less than 24 hours, and then I got an offer in less than 36 hours. So it was amazing. I really couldn't have asked for a better outcome. Right now, we have accepted the offer at this time, and they want a quick closing, which for me is phenomenal, especially with everything that's going on. It was really scary because I think the same day that we got the offer was also the same day that the governor actually declared a stay-at-home order for the whole state. And so, essential employees can still go to work, and I think that realtors fall under that category, but as far as people being afraid to go out and look at the home, I think that would have really affected that. And luckily they were able to get that scheduled pretty quickly, and luckily the home is new, so it didn't have a ton of, nothing really safety or structural, issues to be worried about, but they did still have some concerns. And their request was actually for me to fix those things before closing, which I feel like in 2 weeks is next to impossible anyways, let alone with the stay-at-home order and finding, the right vendors out there who would be able to complete those, maintenance issues or whatever that they were requesting.
Up next, we have a conversation with a mortgage lender, and we talk about the requirements needed to get a home loan.
Well, here joining me now is Ross Barrett with Guild Mortgage. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I think there's a lot of people that have questions about lending right now in this current environment. So I'm really excited to chat with you today. And I guess my first question for you would be, I'm sure the real estate industry and lending are both changing so quickly due to COVID-19. So how is lending being affected specifically?
So lending, what you're going to see from a lot of mortgage companies these days is what's referred to as like a tightening of guidelines. So they're making things a little more difficult to qualify for. And I don't mean difficult, they're just making things more conservative. So you're going to see some higher credit score requirements, maybe larger down payment requirements. Some programs might be eliminated altogether, like they just don't want to do them. You see that a lot. That's occurring a lot in the jumbo market, for example. So just be prepared for maybe a little stricter standard than you're used to.
Would you say that it's still a good time to buy a home?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, I think people don't realize how much interest rate plays in their buying power. Where rates are right now are truly all-time lows, like historic lows. We've never seen rates this good ever. And so when you're talking about a difference of 1% in rate, on a $400,000 place, a percent difference in rate could be $150 per month. That works out to something like $20,000 or $30,000 of buying power. So yeah, it's still a fabulous time to buy a house.
So now let me ask you this: for people who were in the process of getting a mortgage before all this craziness happened, how are their requirements changing, or are they?
Yeah, they are. So like the number one thing that's changing is employment, because I think you've probably seen all the headline numbers of millions of people losing their jobs every week. The headline numbers are 5 million or 4 million or 3 million. The latest numbers coming out tomorrow. Confirming jobs is probably the number one shift that you're seeing. We used to do that, in 3 different places. That was normal. You do it up front, you do it at 9 days, and you do it within 3 days of closing. Well, you still do all those, but now we're also doing them at least 1 day prior to closing. I've heard, and I know for a fact that some companies are even doing it like while you're at the closing table, confirming your employment. We're not that strict. We do it within 24 hours, but I do know that some companies out there are doing it. So just expect to be asked a lot of questions about your employment. How has it been affected? Are your hours down? Is your income down? What's going on? We're going to be asking a lot of questions about that. And we're going to be confirming it literally all the way up to within 24 hours of closing.
And last question, the underwriting process and applying for a mortgage is already an overwhelming process for people.
It can be, yeah.
So now with, these additional guidelines and additional requirements, what would you say just to reassure people that it's going to be okay and they'll do it?
It's going to be okay. That really is a good statement. I can only speak to Guild, right? But we have actually made very minor adjustments to our guidelines as long as you're staying in the conforming space. So conforming is just a fancy word that just means not jumbo. Okay, so any loan that's $575,000 or less here in the Denver area, or 510, 400 in the more rural areas. And so as long as you're staying in that loan size, you're not going to see a very big difference in guidelines with Guild. You're not. We will be asking, as I mentioned before, a lot more questions about your employment, but that's to be expected. So as long as your job is secure, as long as you're working like you normally have, you're honestly not going to see very much difference at all.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And
Sure.
People have additional questions about you, your company, or the whole process, they can check out your website, which is down below.
Yeah, anytime. I tell everybody all the time, I hand out free advice all the time, even if I'm not a lender. If you just want someone to translate for you, just give me a call.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ross. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Now let's check back in with Brittany.
So initially, my realtor advised me to kind of just say that we weren't going to agree to any of those things because they weren't structural and they weren't safety issues for the home. But, after we went back and forth a little bit with the buyer's realtor, we decided to give them $1,000 credit at closing for them to be able to apply towards those fixes. Yeah, so as far as the closing of the home, I'm super excited. Everything worked out. I feel super lucky. But, I did have some concerns. I have closed on homes before, where it's all scheduled and everyone comes into the broker's office and meets and gets all the documents signed. And this time I wasn't really sure how that was going to work, but we basically just did everything remotely. Any documents leading up to that, I was just sent online and I could, do e-signatures and things like that to get everything ready for the closing. And then we kind of just all scheduled like a remote process as far as the closing goes.
So let's check in with a luxury real estate agent to find out how to sell your home quick.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Booth with Compass Denver. So what I'm seeing is a lot of pent-up demand from obviously the lockdowns and the showing restrictions that we had due to coronavirus. So I think with people staying at home a lot more and having some more time on their hands, looking at Zillow and all the properties online, I think that that demand is all pent up now and everybody's ready to buy. So it's still a great seller's market. So people's criteria have changed in their home searches now. So they're looking for more square footage. We've seen searches go up for pools and hot tubs, things like that, backyards that feel more like a sanctuary. And even if it's just, a balcony or a patio that they can really make their own, that sort of thing we've seen change a lot in the searches. So in indoor gyms too is another one that's been really popular. So with Compass Denver, our marketing, I would say, is probably the biggest thing that we provide that is far beyond from what I've seen other brokerages. So everything from our pictures, our high quality pictures, to drone footage of each of our listings, virtual tours. I personally do Matterport, which if you're not familiar with Matterport, it's basically a dollhouse view of the property, and then you're able to sort of see it in a 3D image, and you can click on, you know, each room, and then it'll zoom in there, and then you can go through your virtual tour that way instead of, you know, a normal virtual tour where you're, you know, having to go up the stairs and navigate that way. So the difference is in selling a luxury home versus a normal home is luxury is considered anything over $1 million. So that is Denver Metro Association of Realtors definition of a luxury home. And so with that, you want to make sure, obviously, great curb appeal. People that are in that $1 million price range are going to expect that everything looks immaculate as far as the landscaping is concerned, you know, the paint color, any brick or rock that you might have on the outside of your home needs to be in good condition. So I would say that's the first thing. And secondly, good furniture can go a long way. And so staging is something that I highly recommend when you have a property over $1 million, because it really gives a buyer an idea and a feeling of what it would be like if they live there. So, and I have seen some listings that have been sitting longer than I look at the furniture, and I think that's kind of a telling thing, like maybe this is why it's not selling, because the furniture just, it doesn't look good or it doesn't go, it's not the right style. So I highly recommend a stager. This is a great time to sell because there's so much pent-up demand. So people weren't really able to look at houses in person for the last few months. So we had all these showing restrictions, and you know, I did have a couple clients that made offers on homes that they hadn't seen, but overall, generally, buyers were at home just looking at their searches, waiting for these showing restrictions to lift. So now that we have a flood of buyers and not enough homes, so it is a great time to sell still. So I have, as far as pricing is concerned, I've seen homes anywhere from $250,000 to $750,000 have multiple offers. So that was one thing that I hadn't seen in a while, is multiple offers on homes, you know, over 600, but it's happening. And I think that's a very telling key component of how our market is right now. So steps that we as agents would like our buyers to do when we're pre-qualifying them to look at a home is, obviously we want them to be pre-qualified with a lender first, or we'd like to see proof of funds if they're going to do cash. So more than ever right now, it's important that these buyers are pre-qualified, because sellers don't want looky-loos or people, you know, who aren't that serious about their home. They're taking a risk by letting people through their home. So they want to make sure that they're pre-qualified and ready to go before they come through the home. So, and that's something we've done, especially in the luxury market and especially up in the mountains. That's not something that they've just started to do. That's something that we've done for a long time. And a lot of these luxury properties over $1 million, are listing agent accompanied. So the listing agent will be there, they'll turn on the lights, get the property looking nice. And so it's important that your buyer is serious, because there are a lot of people involved taking time out of their day for everyone. I'm seeing, as far as areas that are hot in Denver, anything where you're seeing grocery stores, new commercial development, I think that's where you're going to see the most growth in the next few years. So it's not necessarily your hot neighborhoods, the typical neighborhoods such as Wash Park, Lohi. We all know that those are very hot, great neighborhoods to live in. But I think what we want to keep our eye on is neighborhoods where we're seeing those commercial establishments going, where new things are coming in, schools, that sort of thing will really grow the value of your home. So I think with $1 million listings or luxury listings, each buyer has a different idea of what luxury means to them. So maybe for somebody it's a 4-car garage, it might be 5 acres for somebody else, it might be a view, it might be something looking over Wash Park that's, you know, immaculately done. But whatever it is, you know, that to that buyer, it's very important. So I think that there's a large range of what luxury means. It could mean a ranch, out in Salida, but there's a lot of different options. It just depends on the area. And as most of us know, the closer you get into Denver, into those really hot pockets like Wash Park and Lohi, Cherry Hills, that sort of thing, you get, it's higher price per square foot. So it's harder to find those huge houses that a lot of people would think are luxury. So places such as Cherry Creek in Denver, for $1.5 million, it could be a townhouse. It might be single family, but most likely you're not going to have a big yard. You're not going to have your 3-car garage. Whereas if you go up to Genesee, say for instance, for 1.5, you can get probably something on a lot of acreage, 3-car garage, maybe something larger. So with Denver, it varies. I mean, just 15 minutes can make a huge difference as far as what you can get for $1.5 million.
But what if you can't afford to buy right now? Renting might be the best option for you. We stopped by with a local property manager in downtown Denver and have more on that.
The Alcott is a brand new high-rise luxury community here in Denver, Colorado. We are managed by CREA Communities. They are out of Austin, Texas. But the building is brand new to the Low-High neighborhood in Denver. We are 248 apartments, all 1- and 2-bedroom homes, and we are kind of at the epicenter of the Highlands neighborhood near Jefferson Park. The location here is phenomenal. The Highlands area has really, over the last couple of years, really regentrified itself. This used to be what was called North Denver. North Denver is basically the 26th and Federal intersection of Denver. A lot of old private homes, a lot of just really kind of old, deep in heritage Denver native residences. Lately, it has changed a little bit, but we're really still focused on small town neighborhood feel. We partner with all of our local restaurants, boutiques, coffee shops, really to kind of get that in the city suburbs feel. So we are still Denver County, but we are essentially our own neighborhood of Denver. But we are near the Denver Aquarium, all of the local breweries and restaurants in the neighborhood. Denver Beer Company is right down the street. And really kind of the epicenter for Spear Boulevard, which is gonna take you right into the heart of downtown. The market conditions right now, as far as Corona and COVID, have definitely had a negative impact on the market as we stand today. We're seeing that turn back to a little more consistent ebb and flow of traffic and new prospects coming into our homes or into our hometown, looking for apartment communities and looking for new homes for themselves. COVID and Corona has obviously put a travel restriction on a lot of our traffic, but we have done relatively well in our market for being open for about 30 days now by virtually touring, by leasing online, by posting YouTube and Instagram tours, scheduling FaceTime tours with our prospects. So the market tends to be picking up a little bit week by week. On average, we probably have about 7 to 8 tours. Apartment living, is really kind of a transitional time in a person's life, and it can be a multitude of transitions. It can be empty nesters. It can be fresh out of college. It can be a newly married couple looking to start a new life. But obviously the benefits of renting in this beautiful community, it's a brand new building. You are the first resident in your home. It is new cabinetry, it is new carpet, it is new paint, it's got the new feel. And then of course your benefits, if a water heater goes out, that's not on your dime. It is centrally located to Denver, so whereas you may not be able to afford a home in Denver, you can absolutely rent in Denver and still have that same feel. It really does have something for everybody. Whether you're, an outdoorsy type, we're here in front of the Platte River. Whether you would like to, hang out in your local breweries or your restaurants, if you're a foodie, there's plenty of options for that. If you really want to escape kind of the city life, kind of a bar scene, nightlife scene, we're still close enough in retrospect to Denver to be able to get a little bit of that and then obviously retreat here to the Alcott and have some quiet time as well. So yes, the Alcott is at 2424 Alcott Street in Denver, located just across the highway from Denver Aquarium. We are currently accepting applications for folks looking to move to the neighborhood. We offer traditional 1- and 2-bedroom style homes, average square footage about 796 square foot across the board. The website is alcottdenver.com, and if you lease right now, we are actually offering 1 month free off of rent.
Now let's check back in with Brittany.
You know, for people who are out there wanting to sell a home right now, I would still encourage them to take that step. I think it is scary, but there's no harm in putting it on the market. And you know, it just because you put it out there and maybe you don't get an offer or you get an offer you don't like, that doesn't mean you have to commit. So people are still looking, especially in this area, you know, and Denver and Colorado in general has been growing constantly over the past few years. I think people are still looking to buy and people still need a place to live. So, you know, if you have a home, don't be afraid to list it on the market.
We could not be more happy for Brittany, and as a token of appreciation for her sharing her story with us, we were thrilled to be able to cater lunch for her and the nurse team at the hospital. Thank you so much for joining us, and remember, when it comes to buying and selling, it's all about the listing. See you next time. Appreciation for her sharing her story with us. We were thrilled to be able to cater lunch for her and her nursing team at the hospital. Thanks. I know, it was so good. Jordy goes, okay. In 3, 2, 1. 3. In 3, 2, 1. Her and her nurse team at the, sorry.
Nature.
I know. At least make some good bloopers, right? I know.